I've got a habit, right, of talking. And then I think, oh shit, I haven't pressed record. It's always the best bit. Okie dokie. You all ready? All set?
Yeah, all set to go. Yeah.
You are looking fantastic, Shin. You've gone for the white look as well.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, the silver fox, just like yourself, bro.
Yeah.
I thought it was. You know what? I thought it was about time. Kind of. I just let it grow out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the industry, as you know, it's show business, right? So you have to kind of, and it's a young man's industry. It's not really, but it's always, the Bhangra industry has always been deemed as the young man's thing because it's so, I think it's because it's so vibrant and so, so alive and, always kicking.
Yeah.
And for that reason, everybody tends to dye their hair or groom themselves and make themselves try and look young. The ultimate, I don't know what, the whole world has this fascination with trying to look young all the time.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I've had enough of doing all that. And I just want to be natural now, everybody knows how long I've been around in the industry. It's not like I just came in yesterday. I'm no spring chicken, really. You know what I mean? So why hide the fact? It's a fact, and why hide it? So I thought, just let it go now, bro.
Yeah.
And if you like it, you like it. Otherwise, this is it.
This is it. I mean, and for all them reasons, that's why I kept mine grey as well.
Yeah, and it's all of a sudden, being silver has become fashionable. Really.
Yeah.
Letting the greys out is all of a sudden quite fashionable.
Exactly. So, I mean, you've always been a trendsetter anyway, and the bottom line is, Shin, it's your voice, right? And your amazing voice, it's still there, and also you talk about being energetic. That's one of your key things on stage. Whenever I saw you, you was always on your A game. You was dancing. You got the crowd going, and always. I don't know how you manage this. I don't know how people do this, but always sung on key. And
just about.
But do you know what I mean? There's a real skill to it.
You must have caught me on my good days.
Well, there's a lot of good days you've had then, because I mean, every time I saw you, fantastic. Your band, obviously, a lot of people know about D.C.S, the band, probably one of the best live bands ever in the UK Bhangra scene. I think that's clear. That's not even an argument. And you yourself as the front man, I mean, what a compact unit. I mean, you must have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were quite lucky, really, as DCS, in that we've always had a good mix of characters in our band. Some always pucker musicians, and really good guys as well, with a good head on them as well, and guys who wanted to make good music, guys who wanted to perform well, to their best all the time, and we just somehow had it ingrained that anytime we walked on stage, we wanted to give it 110%, and we always did do that. It's just because everybody in the band just wanted to play. We just enjoyed playing so much, just loved playing, performing to a crowd all the time, and just hyping them up. It's amazing the feeling you get when you see a crowd in front of you hyped up to the max. It's just amazing. You can't recreate that feeling. And especially when you're with a live band, a band like DCS, where everybody knows what they're doing on stage, we're well rehearsed and we're up for it big time, and the crowd are up for it. And it produces a magic when you get that chemical reaction with the crowd. You got 3,000 people in front of you and all of a sudden things click. The sound is great. You're on form. The crowd is up for it. And it's a brilliant venue. And, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
You're getting me excited now, and because I remember listening to DCS and your breaks and stops. They were always so tight, And as an audience member, I could feel it from the band. I could feel that vibe. It's an invisible magnetic hold you have. Only people in bands and musicians and artists, they know there's a special feeling, right? It's indescribable. And I mean, for yourself, I mean, we spoke about this off air, and you were saying, you haven't sung live for such a long time now because of COVID.
Because of COVID, yeah.
Yeah, and you're missing being on stage. You need that fix.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, you know, it's being on stage and performing to a crowd, being in front of an audience is my drug, really. You know, and I need that fix. It's been about 6 months now, and I need it on a regular basis. Like for the last 35 years or so, I've been having a hit, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, you know, on a regular basis, and all of a sudden I'm into cold turkey, you know what I mean? And it's not nice, you know. I'm not enjoying it. So, you know, I've been doing loads of stuff like this, really, Zoom interviews and stuff, just to kind of keep myself in touch. And I mean, I do practice regularly at home, and I've always done that anyway, you know. So I'm singing all the time anyway. But when you're performing to a crowd, the whole energy, the adrenaline, and the chemistry that you create, it's just, you can't do that sitting in a room with your harmonium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's difficult to get to. You can't get that buzz anywhere else apart from being on a stage with an audience.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows when that will come back? At the moment, it's kind of all up in the air, right?
True, bruv. It's you know, when it all started, I thought, right, okay, give it a few months, give it a couple, 3 months, you know, max. We'll have a holiday. It's a break for me, you know what I mean? After so long, but it doesn't seem to be showing any signs of going away. And the government, you know, I know they're in a tough position, you know, with what's going on and how to control things and how to look after people, how to look after industry and stuff. But the entertainment industry always seems to be at the bottom of their list, you know, and even now, they haven't given it any heed, really, and not giving it any attention, and not helping it out at all in any way whatsoever. There's nothing creative coming from them. They're throwing a little bit of money at it, yeah, but, you know, to just keep people quiet. But they're not really going to save the industry like this.
No,
you know, it's going to struggle, and it's going to start breaking down and going under. You know, people ain't going to be able to carry on.
Are you not taking on Rishi Sunak's advice and retraining for something like a plumber, maybe, Shin?
Well, I'll be doing a lot of work in the garden. Perhaps I'll become a gardener. You know what I mean?
you turn up with your shovel. Imagine that.
Yeah, the odd DIY man. I think, yeah, change DCS to DIY. You know what
DIY,
I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
DIY man.
That kind of shows you their mindset towards entertainment, singers, musicians. It's kind of,
yeah, you know. I don't know if it's just the Conservatives, really, but they've never kind of helped the arts in any way whatsoever. They're the people that like to take away all the funding from the arts, whereas, you know, Labour have always been up for the arts, you know, and encouraging creativity within you know, the wider community, and in the community hubs and everywhere. But these people have just kind of come and, you know, slashed everything up and taken the funding straight out from underneath the arts, and the arts are suffering badly for many years.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Even before COVID, and a lot of people don't realize that, you know, a lot of theaters were struggling as well, cinemas as well, you know, with the rise of Netflix and these streaming services. And I mean, a lot of these industries, you've been around, like you mentioned, 35 years. I mean, the changes that you've seen is unbelievable, right? Right from the beginning. And do you think the last 5 to 10 years, the pace on which change is happening must be, or would you feel it's a lot faster these days?
Yeah, it is. Things have changed very quickly over the last 10 or so years. I think, you know, if you compare the 20 years before that, 25 years before that, things in the music industry especially, there was the process of doing stuff, and it hadn't changed for like years, you know, 40, 50, 60 years. And things were rolling along. You know, you form a band, you get a record deal. The record company pays for your recordings. They make your videos. They groom you as artists if you need to be groomed. And you go into a studio. You make your recordings, and they release all your stuff for you. But in the last 10 years or so, you know, the whole thing has changed with the advent of the internet and the advent of platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. Record companies have kind of, although they're still making money, you know, and they're still releasing a lot of music, they're making the artist pay for most of the stuff that's being released. You know, artists are having to pay for their own recordings. Artists are having to pay to have their stuff put on TV channels. And that's not the way it should be. And then the record company takes all the money, you know, and they don't really pay the artist properly. So what's really going on? You know what I mean? You know? We're not being paid. An artist is where the artist earns money, apart from performing, used to be from his creativity. You know, you make a song that's your creation, and you let other people hear that song, and the people pay you. They purchase your song, and they pay you for that purchase, and you get a royalty from that. You know, everybody shares that royalty. The record company gets the big sum. The artist gets something. The producer gets something. The songwriters get something. So everybody gets something for that creative thing that you've made. Now you don't get anything for that creative content anymore. You know, you have to go out and perform live all the time if you want to be, survive as an artist, performing artist.
Yeah.
Whereas before, people like the Beatles, let me give you an example. People like the Beatles stopped performing towards the end of the 60s, around 68 or 69. They just stopped performing, but they were earning money. Even now, they're earning money from royalties that they're paid for stuff that's played on radio, you know, and stuff that's used in films.
Yeah.
You know, so they're still making money, and that case scenario needs to be happening here in the Asian industry as well. You know, artists need to be able, because these are our pension plans. You know, the songs we've made, the songs you guys have made, the songs other artists have made are your pension plan as you get older, and you know, so you're always getting a trickle of stream of something or another coming all the time, you know, to help you survive. This is for the hard work you've done as a young artist. This is what, you know, looks after you when you become an older artist, or when you retire from music.
Yeah, and especially, you know, someone like yourself and your band, you've had so many hit songs. This is not like you've had one hit wonder song and, you know, that was a great song and you're kind of rinsing that song. You've had albums, singles, you know, your back catalogue is amazing, right? And the songs are still playing. It's a big catalogue with a lot of hit songs that are still played at weddings, on radio, you know. So that must be super frustrating because, like you said, it's changed into you have to make money from the live scene, and now there isn't one at the moment.
Yeah, and now there isn't that either. Yeah, precisely. You know, so artists are stumped at the moment. You know, completely.
Yeah. So if you had a revenue stream trickling in, it probably could give you could feel slightly relaxed and think, okay, I can maybe work on some material while I'm waiting. I've still got income coming in. You kind of between a rock and a hard place at the moment. And like you said, we can't see where it's going to end. And also for you did theatre work as well, which has also struggled, you know.
Yeah, again, you know, I've been involved in theatre and I really enjoy and love doing theatre, you know. And again, theatres are suffering badly as well. You know, there's nothing going on. All theatres are closed. Apparently, you know, you can sit in an airplane, a full airplane, you know, 300 people, and sit right next to each other for 8 hours, but you can't go and sit in a theatre for 2 hours wearing a mask, you know. I don't understand the logic behind all that. And, you know, and it just shows that the government aren't really looking at the entertainment. That is a blatant proof that the government do not treat the entertainment industry like they treat all the other industries. You know? And they're not giving it a chance. They're not assisting them to get off the ground, you know, and get going again. They're not helping them in any way whatsoever.
No, and you're absolutely right. You're right. People can sit in literally a pressurized tube in the air for 8 hours, but they can't sit maybe 4 seats away from the next person in a theatre because it can be managed. You can sell tickets and manage this.
Precisely, you can. It can be done. It can be done safely, you know. And if you can do it in an airplane, you come on. You know what? It's a joke. It's a joke. You know, somebody needs to answer that question from the government. You know. Yeah,
and especially with the arts, you know, music, theatre, whatever it is, right? It's kind of the glue that keeps society together. I think we need that release because you know,
you know, as hardworking people, you know, people who are working in offices and stuff, you know, and in pressurized jobs, you know, what release do they get? You know, it's listening to music. It's going to watch a film. It's going to see a theatre production. That's your chill out time in the evening, you know, or on the weekend. You know, you want to relax and do something and absorb something that takes you away from your day-to-day 9 to 5 routine, you know, and the entertainment industry is what provides that, you know. People at the moment, people are stuck in their houses just watching Netflix and Amazon. And how much TV can you really watch?
Exactly.
You know? I mean, there's music there; they can go on YouTube and stuff. But you have to support the creative arts so that we can create more stuff. If people aren't going to help, you know, save these, support these artists, and if the government is not going to support the industry is going to die. You know, it can only continue to create and support you and give you good, productive content, creative content, if you're going to support it. You know, and people need to do that. Really, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you fully, and it's kind of a bleak outlook at the moment, isn't there, Shin? You know, and let's talk about good times, man. 35 years ago when you started, because I spoke to you on the phone, and there's a couple of singers in the UK industry that are my idols, right? Sadara Gill was one, and you. And I don't know if you remember, and I said I was a bit nervous speaking to you, and he's laughing because obviously we kind of know each other from the past as well, right? And he's going, "Why are you nervous?" And I said, "Well, you know, it's a hero thing, right? You meet your idol and you're talking to him one-on-one, and you rarely get a chance to do one-on-one talks or a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, we used to meet so much. You know, we'd be out on the road doing gigs, and you'd be at all the shows. We were at all the shows at that time. And we never we'd meet for what? A couple of hours backstage in the green room, you know, and then we're just like trying to talk over loud music, you know, and trying to deal with what's going on around us. Yeah. And I think this is probably the first time we're going to have a heart to heart, you know, with each other. Yeah. You know, and we've known each other for so long, you know. Yeah. So, you know, it's just crazy. But that was a crazy time, you know. It's just an amazing time. You know, there was just so much going on all over the place at that time. Such an innocent time for all the bands, you know, for all the artists and everybody involved at that time as well, you know.
It definitely seemed like an innocent time, and there's a camaraderie between
there was
with bands. Everyone was it was like friends, you know. Like you said, we meet each other at gigs, but it was always like, "How you doing?" You know, it's like we're in this together. This is our team, you know. We're the bands,
precisely,
you know? And I used to love that, and everyone was kind of supportive of each other, and it seems to be slightly fractured these days. I'm not in the industry anymore, but it seems that way. I mean, maybe it's because the live scene's not as it was before.
Do you know, I think it was just the way the bands were, the mentality that was instilled in bands and the way that we worked. I mean, bands were like big setups. You have 6, 7, 8, 10 people, you know, in a band, and then you've got your sound system and everything. So we were used to working with people and getting on with each other and getting on with other people around us, right? And now, so whenever we'd meet at shows and gigs and stuff, we'd be fine to interact with each other and get along with one another, you know, work with each other on stage, accommodate each other on stage, you know, because sometimes, as you know, there was 3 or 4 bands on a lineup. So you've got 40, 50 people hanging around backstage, you know what I mean? And you have to get on with people, you know, in that scenario. And that's the way the bands were. That was in our mentality, in our psyche at that time. But now the industry, mainly with the advent of PAs, artists just doing PAs, you turn up with it's you and the guy who's going to spin your records for you, or there's the DJ, a couple of guys with him. So the industry has shrunk completely. The whole scene has shrunk. So backstage, you've got probably 2, 3, 4, 5 people, whereas you've got 50 people before, you know. So that camaraderie, I think, is probably not there anymore. You know, that whole scene, that hustle and bustle is not there anymore. You know, that excitement is not there. You know, the adrenaline pumping is not there anymore. So, you know, I think the whole scene has just kind of shrunk and shriveled up, really. In that sense.
Sometimes people say to me on the show, they go, "You're always harking on about the old days," and I said, "You just don't know what it was like." You see,
you know, it's true. You know, I really do feel for this generation. You know, they've never experienced what we experienced. You know, walking into places like Hammersmith Ballet, Empire Ballroom, and the places used to be like 3,000 or 4,000 people in there. They'd be rammed, and as soon as you get there, you know, you can feel this energy, you can feel this vibe going on. You know, it's happening everywhere. Backstage, like I said, in the green room with all the bands in there. On stage, you've got the healthy competition, you know, going on. So there's energy everywhere, and the crowd was always hyped and pumped.
Yeah,
what an amazing atmosphere to be working in, and you know, and vibing in. You know, and I don't see that now. I mean, I go and do PAs now, even in clubs sometimes. You know, I'm going and performing in clubs as well. But the gigs aren't like that anymore. You don't get 3,000 or 4,000 people at a gig anymore.
No.
They're like 200-300 people. You know, 400 people max. And the little venues, the small clubs, a couple of DJs, and that's it. You know, you do your PA and you're out. There's nothing going on, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing going on. You still get the energy when you're on stage and stuff, but the scene is nowhere near what it used to be. And the crowd, you know, the crowds used to just love being at these shows, dancing. You see people arms in the air all the time. You know, as soon as a band would walk on stage, the crowd would be up for it. They'd be jumping and pumping. You know, dropping all the latest dance moves. You know, I've seen so many dance moves through the years. You know, so many dance styles. Every dance style changes with the kind of music that's been changing throughout the years. It's been amazing. It's a great journey. But that was the time. That's why we always harking on about the old times.
Yeah. So anyone listening, that's why I hark on about the old times, and because I loved it, and it's just great memories, and that's why I think I so enjoy talking to you, Sadara, Abaji as well, you know, because you were the key guys, you know, who made that scene. And I mean, for yourself, for what you're going to say, something, Shin? Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I mean, key guys like in that, you know, I think every band that was releasing stuff in that era, if we take the 80s, we take the 90s, coming into the noughties, right? Most bands that were releasing stuff were having hits. At least one or two songs were always hits on every album that was coming out, you know. So every band was out there working and doing stuff, you know. And I mean, the camaraderie was always. I mean, let me give you an example. One time, I don't know if you recall this, but one time, D.C.S. It was a weekend. We did a show in, I think it was Switzerland. On the Saturday night, we had a show in Switzerland. On the Sunday, we were supposed to fly back into England, drive down to Gravesend, and do a show there, right? And we landed at Heathrow Sunday morning, right? But for some reason, our gear didn't turn up. Our gear was still in Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
So we were knackered. We thought, oh, bloody hell, we got a show. And it was an afternoon wedding reception. I was, bloody hell, what are we going to do now? So we made a couple of calls, and we called you guys. We called Pendemunde. And we told you what our scenario was. And you said, no problem, guys. I think it was Woodville Halls.
That's it.
And we said, look, it's going to take us about an hour and a half to get to Woodville Halls from Heathrow. So we're going to get down. Can you please get your gear there for us? Because we have no gear. And you guys, no hassle. Yep, sure, Baji. It'll be there. No, don't worry about it. By the time we got to the show, you had everything set up and ready for us to go.
Yeah.
And that's what you call camaraderie, you know. And I can never thank you guys enough for that. You saved our ass that day, you know what I mean?
No.
And we would have done the same for anybody else who would have asked, you know, including yourselves. If anybody ever needed any help, you need a keyboard, you need an amplifier, you need something here, we'd always run out and try and help somebody if we could, you know. And that's the camaraderie that we had at the time.
Yeah,
and that's not there anymore. Right?
No, you know, I've kind of lost the bet now as well, because someone said to me, "I bet you bring that story up about when you got the equipment," because I tell everyone that story. I love that story because it's fantastic. I don't know if you remember, Shin, but we got you all the equipment, but we didn't have a guitar for you because our guitarist was from. I think he's from Hitchin, or it's a London area. He's not from Gravesend, and we didn't have a guitar. And there was a guy walking past Woodville Halls.
Yeah, there was.
With a guitar case.
Yes.
And we said, "Oh, mate, can we borrow your guitar?" And he said yes. And he sat and he let us use the guitar, his electric guitar. And then he sat and watched the show, and he loved it. Obviously, he had a few starters and a few drinks. And
yeah, he was a policeman, I believe.
That's it. Good
memory.
He was a
policeman. He was just come off duty or something. He was going home. He had his guitar with him. and he loved it. He loved it. I remember that. Yeah.
What a crazy story. And and also, I don't think our instruments have sounded so good once DCS, and we was thinking we didn't know it sounded like that.
No.
You know, actually, the guy who got married, the wedding it was, he didn't know obviously all this was going on, you know, and I kind of know him, and I explained to him what happened, and he was like, "Really?" And he kind of didn't believe me. And but it's like we had saved the world, but no one knows, you know, like
no one knows. Yeah,
like
precisely.
superheroes.
I mean, the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, public out there never know, do they?
No.
So many times, you know, what goes on backstage, and sometimes, you know, you're desperate for equipment, or somebody hasn't turned up, and you're just going on stage, you're performing your song, and the person walks on stage. So many times that kind of stuff goes on backstage, and people, the Joe Bloggs out there, you know, who's on the dance floor, is totally oblivious to it, or what's going on, you know, what you have to go through to put on a show for.
Exactly. You have to be professional. They don't know. You have to, whatever you go through, you could be running late, you could be stuck in traffic, you could be, precisely. You know, you don't know, but the moment you hit the stage, you know, as you know, you just get on with it, right? You do what you need to do.
Yeah, you forget everything, and you switch on, and you're in the zone straight away.
Yeah, a super story. I'm glad you mentioned it, because I've got it for prosperity now. Yeah, it's recorded. It's recorded forever.
It just shows the camaraderie that we had at that time. You know?
Yeah,
the respect that fans had for one another, you know, and people genuinely went out of their way to help each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It wasn't even an issue. You know, we was honoured, and I promise to everyone listening and watching, I would never mention this story again. This is the pinnacle now. I've spoken to Shin about this story, which is what it was built. That's what it was building up to, you see. But yeah, that was fantastic. There's one thing I always wanted to ask you in regards to the band and your sound. And because you recreated the sound from your albums and your singles, almost spot on, and that's such a hard feat to do. People that don't know, that's very difficult to do, to recreate the sound from an album live. But you guys seem to have nailed that spot on.
Yeah, I think that's because most of the lads were involved with the recordings at the time. You know, I always tend to use the boys on the albums, unless we're using some really weird instrument that no one in the band plays. Then we'll get a session musician to come in and do the job for us, or if there's something that we can't reproduce and we need somebody to come and do it for us. But apart from that, the lads always used to come and play their parts. Like Morty would come and play all his keyboard stuff. Steve or Ballard, whoever we had at the time, would be playing the guitars. Popsy's always been on the bass, you know, Juggy on the drums. And what Juggy would do, because we in the drum, when you're recording in a studio, you don't. Those days were gone when you start using live drums, but we'd use drum machines, and Juggy would come and do most of the programming on the drum machines and stuff, and get the drum beats the way he wanted them, you know. So, you know, we recreated, and the door players and the doorlook players, the tabla players, would come and do their overdubs and stuff. So everybody in the band was actually playing the stuff, which made it that much easier to recreate, you know, on stage for us, and keep that energy in it all the time, you know. So in that respect, you know, I say that, you know, we were always lucky that we had good musicians in the band all the time, you know, and we just bounced off one another when we were working on stuff and creating stuff in the studio, you know, and that energy then just transferred to the stage when we were recreating it live for performance purposes, you know. And I think that's one reason why we were so tight. Because we created these songs and played on these songs, we knew how the songs needed to sound for stage. So as soon as we were in the rehearsal, and I think, you know, even though we were performing week in, week out, we used to rehearse at least once or twice a week, even though we were so busy all the time. It's always been in our setup, DCS setup, that we're going to rehearse at least once or twice a week, even though we're busy performing, just to work on stuff and keep things tight and sort out any niggly bits we've got on stage or whatever, you know. So we were always on it all the time. Yeah,
I remember once, I don't know if you remember this story, you was at I think I saw you at a gig, and I said, look, Shin, I really want to learn how to sing. And he was like, all right. And because you must get that all the time. And you said, well, next time we meet, you know, we can sit down. What you didn't know, that I knew, that you was at a wedding near Gravesend the following weeks. So I turned up with my harmonium. And
All right.
well, we sat in a car. You probably don't remember, right? And only for about 15 minutes, and you went through a scale with me, and said,
Okay.
and you realised I was shit, and then you thought you go Sat, you know you have to work at this. Obviously, as a polite gentleman you are, you said to me nicely, look, you're gonna have to work if you want to be a singer. You have to work. And I said, well, how many times do you have to practice? He goes, every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And I was like, what? Yeah. And he goes, you said I practice every day unless I'm doing a live gig. If I'm doing a show, that's different. But I always do the R's. And I think for people listening and watching, people, young singers out there who are learning their trade or want to be singers, it kind of, if you could tell us about, you know, what it does take, because you're trained, you can play the harmonium, you know, I've seen you sing such a range of songs, English, Hindi, ghazals, Bhangra, obviously, as we know, and you seem to, you could, and I think that's probably due to your training that you can do. Yeah,
definitely. You know, I mean, Riyaz is very, very important. You know, practice is very important. Your personal practice, not practice with your band, but your personal practice as an artist. If you're a singer, you need to practice singing. If you're a guitarist, you need to practice your guitar to get yourself to a really, really good level. You know, and I do my Riyaz every day, even now. You know, even throughout COVID, I've been practicing every day. I'm up usually around 6:30, 7 in the morning, and I'll sit down for at least half an hour to 3/4 of an hour with my tanpura and do my Riyaz in the morning, or you can sit with your bajab, but you have to work your vocal every day. And then I'll do my morning Riyaz, then I have an evening Riyaz as well, which is for another hour or so, hour to an hour and a half in the evening as well, you know, just to work on different kinds of stuff.
Wow.
So there's lots of different kinds of Riyaz that you can do. There's Riyaz when you're practicing your technique, and there's Riyaz when you're practicing your voice culture. There's Riyaz when you're practicing your songs, working out your songs and stuff. So there's so many different kinds of practices you can do, you know, and they're all very important, and they play very, very important roles, you know, to make you into a good vocalist, you know, and the voice culture part of it all is very, very important. And in Indian Sangeet, in Asian singing, it tends to be overlooked a lot, but it's very important. You know, breathing techniques, how to use your voice, how to produce your voice, so that you can sing for, you know, a couple of hours if you have to perform. You know, you don't sing for like 15, 10 minutes and your voice is going, oh, bloody hell, I can't, you know, you lost your voice. It's not done like that. You know, there's a technique and a way of doing it, and you have to develop that and bring those techniques, those ways of singing, those styles of singing into your singing, you know, keeping your natural voice, but you have to take on these techniques that are tried and tested by the best singers in the world, you know, and to give you longevity in your career and to keep your mechanism, your voice healthy, you know. And so it's very important to do this every day if you want to take singing seriously. If you're just dabbling and you want to be a bathroom singer, you're happy, you know, just singing with your friends and mates, then that's a different kettle of fish, you know. I mean, you don't really need to practice that much for that, you know. Just you switch a cassette on in the car and you blast away at it, you know, sing along with it, and that's fine. You know what I mean? I
was very good in my car, very good. I used to smash every gig in my car.
Well, that's where we all start from, believe it or not. When, you know, I mean, before we formed D.C.S, and in the days when I was trying to get a band together, and, you know, even though I had my budget and stuff, a lot of my singing used to be done traveling, because I used to travel a lot back in the day as well. And a lot of my singing would be done in the car, you know, and just singing along to songs. I learned so much, you know, from doing that. If you got a job where you have to commute a lot, use that time wisely, my friend. You know, if you want to be a singer, you know, you can do Riyaz, or you can, you know, sing along to songs that you want to learn, and you can learn so much.
And it's funny how that goes around full circle, because then I used to sing from the album Eat Rhythm, and that's how I used to kind of practice.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Which one did you do from there?
Was that Nashiri Bandbotale on there?
Nashiri Bandbotale,
yeah. And what a fantastic song. I mean, that's what I used to kind of practice on the Bolya. But I mean, there's so many great albums, and I think if we went through each album with you, we could be here for 5 hours talking about. But do you have a particular favorite? I know it's a hard question. An album where you kind of encapsulates, or you felt, you know, that's a great body of work I did there, or.
I think there's a few albums that come to mind. I think 1, 2, 3 Go was a game-changing album.
Yeah,
not just for us, but for the industry as well.
That's probably a better question for you. What albums do you think kind of changed your trajectory in your career?
Yeah,
1, 2, 3 Go, definitely.
Where we felt we really contributed a lot to the industry and to, you know, and albums that kind of, you know, moved us up all the time. 1, 2, 3 Go was definitely a massive album that did a lot for us, creatively as well. You know, we experimented a lot on that album, and we found a new sound for the band.
Yeah,
and a sound that people loved. You know, people liked as well, and it kind of, you know, people could identify with that sound, and I think that sound was due to the fact that we, who we were really, the guys in the band. We were all born here in the UK, apart probably from 1 or 2 of the older guys, Danny, I think, and probably Raf. We were, the rest of us were all born in the UK. So being born here, you know, as you know, were you born here in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in Punjab.
Came over as a young
kid, yeah.
Young kid, yeah. So you've been educated here. You've been brought. You listen to the pop charts as well from when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And you're listening to Punjabi music and Bollywood music and all. And when all this stuff gets thrown into a stewing pot, you know, stuff that comes out what can be quite unique. And that's what happened with us at that time. When we did 1, 2, 3 Go, it was an album where we just threw everything into the pot. All our Western influences, our Bollywood influences, our Bhangra influences just went into the pot. And what came out was 1, 2, 3 Go. You know, and so and the whole band, like I said, we were all playing on the band on the recordings at the time. And it was such a creative way to produce new music, you know, and it just worked wonders for us. So 1, 2, 3 Go was definitely one of the big albums for us. After that, I think it was probably Doing It was another album where we then kind of changed direction again a little bit. And then after that, Eat Rhythm obviously was a follow-on from Doing It, which kind of kept the same kind of vibe going on it. Massive album again. And then the album after that as well, actually, Punjabi Dance Nation, which was another mega album, which, again, we've kind of tweaked and changed our sound again a little bit, you know, taking on other styles and other forms of music. And just, I think what happens is you kind of have to capture, you try to capture the mood of where you're at as an artist, where people are at with Bhangra music and with what's going, and where society is at with what's going on around in society. We're trying to capture that mood through the music, and these albums, I think, at different stages, tended to do that. You know, we kind of caught the public mood at the right time and just what was happening in society, and those albums really blew up for us in a big way. You know, and when I listen back to them, you know. They're very creative albums, and there's a big variety of songs on those albums, you know. And you don't get that anymore. You don't get that anymore. In our days, when you say Bhangra music, oh, right, okay, or you say Punjabi music, straight away people think, oh, Bhangra, you know what I mean? And that's all they think of, you know. And now it's turning very urban or rap, hip hop, you know, it's coming onto the scene. And I don't know what it is. People just tend to jump on a bandwagon, and they're all heading in that direction. And that palette of variety that we have before us in Punjabi music is not there anymore. You know, people, I don't know if it's the listeners have become very kind of, you know, they're all wearing those, what do they call those things again that horses wear? Blindfolds or whatever.
Blinkers. Blinkers. Yeah,
the horses wear them, so they keep looking straight. And they're not allowed to look to the sides because it distracts them from running in the race. This is what seems to be happening with people. You know, everyone's wearing these blinkers, and they hear this kind of music, and the other reason for that is that now at the moment the India market tends to be dictating what the scene is about. You know, all the artists from India, and what happens there in India, they're a bit of a bearded jal, you know, and they all go in one direction. When someone gets a hit formula for a song, they're all on it, you know, and they just want to make songs with you know, that it's got to be that beat, it's got to be that tempo, it's got to be that sound. I got to have this musical instrument, and there has to be a chorus, a verse, a boli, and another verse, and an end. You know, and everyone works to the same formula. You know, there's no creativity going on.
Yeah.
And whereas when we used to produce albums in this country, we'd do 8 songs, you'd get about 2-3 Bhangra songs, then you'd have a sad song, you know, a couple of experimental songs, probably a Qawwali in there, you know, and there was a whole variety of palette, you know, of music on those albums. And, you know, you don't get that anymore.
No, and also, Shin, you know, if someone like Pardesi released an album, DCS wouldn't then copy Pardesi's sound and think, oh, that worked, let's do the same.
Yeah,
they never, you know, you had your own unique sounds and thought, all right, this is what we're going to make. This is kind of what our artwork is going to be like. You know, this is what what we're creating, and people like it. They like it. Great. If they don't, I think bands and artists at the time, they were a bit braver because
You know, they braver. I mean, everybody had their own identity, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Allah had their own sound, their own identity, their own signature. Hira, Apna Sangeet, D.C.S, you know, Pardesi, Premi, you know, PDM, you know, you name any band at that time, they had their own signature sound. And as soon as their music started, you could tell, all right, this is this band.
Yeah.
You know, from the first note, you could tell it's them. And everybody had their own identity. But now, nobody seems to have an identity. Everyone's copying what next man is doing, you know, and everyone ends up sounding exactly the same.
Yeah.
So except for the singer, probably, you know, obviously the singers sound different. Yeah. But even there, all seem to be singing the same way, the same kind of style, you know.
Yeah. So we're not expecting a rap from you, Shin?
No.
With a hip hop.
I've tried it. I'm shit at it. You know, I can't rap to save my life.
You can do anything.
This is the only rapping I can do.
I mean, I tell you, on some of your albums though, some of my favorites were your acoustics versions, like Kangana, Labadi Utte. I mean, they were absolutely amazing, and because that's when people I knew, but some people thought, wow, his voice is amazing, because everything's stripped back. And you've got a guitar, and your tone of your voice and the richness. I mean, I used to practice that in the car, and I gave up because it's very difficult what you did, right? And I mean, where was the ideas behind that? Because they're some of my favorites. Because you didn't play them live that much, but I mean,
those kind of songs, that experimental songs, were for people who back in the day, as well as dancing to Bhangra music, people used to listen to music as well, you know, and you'd have a lot of good ears out there, which are probably still there, but they're not being serviced at the moment, you know what I mean? And so songs like Kangana, songs like Labade Utte, other experimental stuff we did, you know, like Ina Akhan Vich Pama Ke Main Kajal, which was a cover, Surinder Kaur cover, you know, and we used to mess around with these songs. We'd take an old classic and put it on its head, you know, rip it apart, put it again together, you know, and just do stuff with it. And that doesn't happen anymore. But let me give you an example how these songs come about. I mean, Kangana, we were doing an album called Doing It, and we're all in the studio messing around, you know. And I think me and Palla were in the recording booth, in the recording room. Everyone else was in the engineering room. And Palla just messing around, strumming on some stuff. And I'm probably sitting there trying to write something or something or other. And I think at the time, he was going through some chord selections and stuff and strumming rather than playing the aggressive Bhangra rhythms that we used to have. And I said, "Oi, Palla, that's nice. We should do something with that." And I said, and he started going through those chords again. And we had done a song, we had done another version of Kangana already on this album, which was a reggae kind of version.
Yeah, that's right.
On Doing It. And I said, look, why don't we try and do this? Kangana seems to fit on what you're doing here, the song that we've already recorded. Let's do an acoustic version of it. And so we thought, okay. And, you know, we'd heard like mainstream bands that we listened to, doing acoustic versions of songs I'd heard many times in my life. So, you know, no one's ever done this in the Bhangra industry, so let's try it, see how it works. And would you believe, in a couple of hours, we made a chord structure, put the song on it, and we started doing takes on it. And I think we did about 4 live takes on it, and the song was recorded, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, like I said, in the old days, it was all, most of the stuff was done live. So this was totally done live, you know, straight away. But he played the guitar, did the chord work on it, and I went in and sang the song. It was just done, dropped straight away. We were sitting right opposite each other while we were recording it and getting that vibe, and it turned out to be a beautiful song and so well appreciated by everybody.
Oh wow, it's unbelievable, and you knew it's live because you can hear by Lars strumming. You can hear him playing the guitar. You can actually, as he's moving up and down, you can hear him, right? And I mean that that's when your full training and your expertise in your vocals and your control. It's magic. I mean, for me, that's pure magic, and it happens once in a while. And you'll be surprised how many times I've talked to artists who say, "Oh, that song was just kind of thrown together. We just thought, let's try it, and it became a hit."
Yeah.
Sometimes when the pressure's off you and you're not trying to create something, a hit, a dance floor banger, that's sometimes when the magic happens, right?
That's when the magic happens. Yeah, true.
Yeah, and you're just purely into your artistry, you know. You just
this is it. You know,
you just
you know, and Bala, I think even up until now, I have no qualms in saying he was probably the best guitarist in the Bhangra industry, and so creative. I've never seen anybody as creative as him on the guitar, you know.
Yeah.
And the stuff he used to do. I remember we did a show once at a wedding, and we used to have 2 keyboard players, Danny and a guy called Izzy. And for one of the shows, Izzy couldn't turn up, and they used to split the work between them. And I remember Bala virtually did as well as playing all his own stuff, he played all the other guitars, all the other keyboard stuff on the guitar as well.
Yeah.
You know, and he'd never practiced it. He just knew it. He just played it off the top, from the top of his head.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was amazing. You know, that's when you realize, you know, some musicians, you know, it's just amazing. They're on another level, you know.
Yeah.
And you just know the notes. You just know where the notes are, and your fingers just go there.
Yeah.
You know, what you're thinking, your fingers are playing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know? And when you get to that kind of level, that's when you are a serious musician at that time, you know.
Yeah, and you like you said, you've been very lucky that you've had serious musicians within DCS throughout the years. And for yourself, I sometimes used to see you as kind of like a football manager, and you've over the years have developed a new team, and then a new team, and then a new team. You know, and you've kind of, some members have gone, they've joined, you know, and you've kind of moved the pieces around, but not changing it too much, so the dynamics don't change. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that kind of ethos and culture within the band always remains. And this
it has. Yeah, I think that was the important thing. It was that ethos we had, and that energy that the band had always remained. You know, that chemistry that we had in the band was always there. Obviously, every time a new member came, we'd slightly tweak it again, but you know, and we'd always find that energy we needed again, you know, and it's always worked for us. I say we were very lucky that we always had good musicians, because you need good musicians in order to be able to vibe off each other and keep that creative level high, you know, all the time.
Yeah,
he's gonna play something on the guitar that it's gonna make me vibe. Then I'm gonna do something vocally gonna make him vibe, and then we're gonna keep bouncing. You know, bouncing is probably not the right word. You know, we're going to keep reacting chemically with each other. You know, and that chemistry starts. You know, and the chemistry becomes one, and that's when the song becomes. You know, that's when you create something new, and the song comes out of it all. You know, it's amazing.
And it's a purest form of you know, music as a language. You know, when you're speaking to each other. You know, and I know you used to do a lot of improvisation as well on stage. You used to kind of change. Was it improvisation, or was this pure just practice, and you kind of made it sound?
Most of the time, I would say probably 80% of the time, it was hard practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We practice in the rehearsal room. So when we go on stage, it's coming natural to us. You know, we could do it with our eyes closed, but that's when you add your own creativity into it as well. The energy of the moment comes into it and takes over. So it was never really the same 2 times around, you know. But I mean, if we're doing something for 8 bars, let me just, for 8 bars, the 8 bars is fixed, right? We've rehearsed that. There's going to be a tora at bar 4. A lot of people probably won't understand this. I'm talking to musicians now. There's going to be a drum roll at bar 4, a tora at bar 6. That's never going to change, right? But how that tora drops, how that drum roll drops, how we drop those 8 bars at a show in Hammersmith is not going to be the same as how we drop it at the Dome in Birmingham the next time around, because there's so many different factors that come into play. What you're feeling at the time, the way the crowd is at the time, you know, and the way it just happens, you know, the way it just tends to happen in the song, you know. The chemistry is different every time.
Yeah.
That's why the unique thing about live music is it's hardly ever reproduced the same twice.
Yeah.
There's so many nuances that change within the music, you know. Live music is in the moment at the time, and you have to experience it there and then, you know, which is why if you speak to some punters, someone will always say, oh, I remember that particular gig.
Yeah.
I remember the Empire Ballroom, this day, this band, this song, that moment, because that was a magical moment for that person at that time. And it will never be recreated again for him. That memory is embedded in his brain. And that's what live music is all about, embedding those memories, because it happens at that moment in that time, and it's never going to happen again.
No,
you'll remember it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And it is pure memories. It's not about filming it on a phone. It's actually,
not. No.
It's a pure memory, you know, and the kind of stories I have about you and DCS are just, they're in my heart, you know. I don't have them anywhere. I don't have them filmed, and it's not, we haven't recorded them anywhere. It's just memories that will always remain with me. And that story about you, your equipment getting left behind will be told to my children and my grandchildren.
It needs to be told, bro. It needs to be told. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to put this on. But, I mean, that's fantastic. That's like a masterclass from Shin. You know, I'm going to sell this, actually. I could sell it for like £10. There you go, you know. But so for yourself now, you know, because I spoke to Buddha Jagpal, and one of the things I kind of forgot to ask him is when's his album coming out? What's he doing next? And because they want to hear new music, right? There's a big hunger for music, especially from your generation, from like D.C.S. and people like yourselves. People want it, right? I know, because they message me, and they'll kill me if I don't ask you, what are you working on now? Are you recording? Is something going to come out from you?
We have got stuff on the go, but it's all been held up with COVID.
Right.
We're doing 2 things. One, creating new music. Yeah. We've got a couple of tracks ready to sort of in the studio. Then we've started revamping some old stuff, which we're being asked to do by fans and by record companies, because some of the songs we created were super hits back in the day, 25 years ago. People the younger generation don't know those songs. They don't get to hear those songs as much. So to bring those songs from the 90s into, you know, where are we? The 2000s, you know, 2000s and 20s. To bring them into 2020, we're revamping some of those songs, some of those super hits, so that they get a new lease of life, and a new generation of people can experience those songs and try and get that energy that we had back in the day again. Yeah. So these are 2 different things that we're working on at the moment, you know. So revamping some of our old stuff and doing some new stuff. But unfortunately, because of COVID, it's been difficult to, even though I have a pre-production studio upstairs here in the house, I'm limited to how much I can do in there. So there comes a point when I'm finishing stuff off that I have to get into bigger studios, or studios that are professionally equipped to deal with the stuff from then on. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that. Getting time in studios has been difficult because of social distancing and stuff with the band. And even now, because shows aren't happening, weddings aren't happening, record companies are asking themselves questions as to, is there any point releasing anything at the time when it's not going to be, because a lot of the stuff that we do is for people to use at weddings and to use at shows and stuff, you know. So record companies start asking themselves questions, let's hold on to stuff until the public is ready for it again. Because at the moment, with COVID and dealing with life and all the changes that are going on in life, people are very distracted, I think. And you know, from music is not really on the agenda for them at the moment, and there's no weddings going on. You know, any weddings, you know, Punjabi weddings where you have like 400 or 500 people as a minimum are now restricted to what, 7 people, is it? Or 15 people? I mean, and then they're not allowed to dance and perform and do anything, you know. So what is the point of releasing stuff at this present time? You know, so record companies are holding on to stuff as well at the time, at this moment. So but when things get back to normal, believe you me, there's stuff ready to be released, and there will be stuff coming out, you know?
Because it'll be a crying shame if we don't hear you, Shin. I mean, talking about 10 people at a wedding, that used to be literally the DJ setup guys, you know. They used to be 10 people in their group as the DJs, you know. And but now with the numbers gone down, I mean, for yourself, what about sort of acoustic numbers and something that you could potentially do at home, maybe?
You know. Well, I have. Do you know? I do like something that I call the Friday feeling. And I've been dropping those now and then. You know, it's not something I do on a regular basis, but I do when the urge takes me. I'll sit with my guitar or my bhajan and just drop a few lines and stick it up on Facebook. I actually did, because you might know I'm a big Mohammed Rafi fan. So I did a tribute to Mohammed Rafi a couple of weeks ago, which is on YouTube, and I've put it up on my Facebook, and I've shared the link with people. So I am, which was a very acoustic session. It was me and a piano player. So I am doing that kind of stuff and trying to, you know, throw acoustic stuff out there as well. But, you know, singing to a computer, or a camera is not really like performing live, you know what I mean? So I'm dying and itching for, you know, to sing to a crowd. You know, to be thrown into the mix again with an audience, it'll be amazing.
Not singing to me, it's not doing it for you, no.
Well, I'll sing you something. That's not a problem. I mean, this is different. This is, you know, when I'm doing like my Friday feelings, or when you're just doing the performance. It's just a camera. You know what I mean?
And they're popular. Your Friday feelings. I've shared them a few times. They're getting thousands and thousands of views.
People are listening to them, and people want to hear more stuff. You know, it's me. You know, I made a mistake really. I should have done it on Friday, because Friday is such a goddamn busy day. Right? My wife has so much stuff for me to do on Friday. But you know, it's something I need to do. You know, I need to be doing it.
What about an album or single or an EP with some acoustic stuff?
That is that's a good idea. You know, and something I've been playing with, and perhaps, you know, I think that will probably happen.
Because that would be beautiful. I mean, your voice is absolutely amazing, and I think it's something that people can sit and listen to and relax, because you've got that great. You said it's such a clear tone and voice, and then, you know, it's you can tell I'm a fan, right? And,
you know, I think, but obviously, you know, I'm 60 now, right? And when I sang a lot of my hits, like I was in my 30s, 20s. So, you know, and early 40s. So the voice is not, I don't sound the way I used to. I can still sing those songs, but I think with the voice I have now, my palette has actually grown. When I say palette, I mean the materials that I have now to work with offer me a lot. In the acoustic field, and I do intend to do some serious. I want to take Punjabi music somewhere else, you know, because it's not, you know, even though I've spent my whole life doing Bhangra music, it's not all about Bhangra music. Punjabi music and Punjabi culture has so much in it, you know.
Absolutely.
And the beauty of it is you can mix so much in with it. You can fuse so much with Punjabi culture, and we always have, you know. And I am a product of fusion anyway. You know? I'm a Punjabi. My parents are Punjabi. I'm born in the West, in Britain. I have a British passport, you know, and I have no qualms between swapping from my Punjabi culture, jumping into my English culture, then jumping back. I have no problem doing that, and I live very comfortably within those parameters. And the music I've made has always kind of reflected that. And this is what I want to do with Punjabi gaiki, Punjabi Sufiana gaiki, Punjabi ghazal gaiki, you know, and bring it into a new domain and offer it, repackage it, rework it, and give it to a new generation, you know, so that they can hear it in a way that they can accept it, they can identify with it, but then they'll have a, you know, a whole new genre of music before them, you know. And this is what I'm trying to do here with Punjabi music where I am now.
Yeah, I think definitely, because you remember when, obviously you remember because you made it, that Maxi Priest version. I think what happened there, you was kind of ahead of your time, because if you think of that style, that's that English Punjabi mix, and some people are a bit like, what's, but I think you was kind of a few years ahead.
We were ahead of our time.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Because that scene's happening.
It's happening now.
It's happening now. Yeah.
And I mean, that was a fantastic album. I mean, them songs.
That was actually a Bollywood album.
That's right. Yeah.
But a lot of elements from there would translate beautifully into, well, it's all being done now in Punjabi music anyway. But even at that time, it wasn't being done in Bollywood. And after that album came in Mumbai, it did change a lot of stuff. And there were films then after that filtering through that were using those kind of formulas, those dance formulas, those dance sounds and stuff that we were messing around with, you know, and acoustic stuff we were messing around.
Yeah. How am I doing selling this to you? I'm going to wait for the album to come. I think you was, and I remember that album. I loved it, and I thought, this is fantastic, because I think, because I loved your voice so much, and I love the Bhangra songs obviously to dance, but I love listening to it and the start and the kind of the skill that you had in bending your voice and just the classical elements that you used to put into Bhangra songs as well. People didn't realize, but you used to put a little classical edge to it. Share the band as well. You know, you had a little, you know, it's just pure skill.
It's all the like the murkiyan, the harkats, and then bringing the English falsettos and stuff into it as well. You know, and and all these stuff I used to do. You know, the gymnastics I do with my voice and stuff. So it all has to be thrown into the mix, you know, to try and, it's all in an endeavor to try and create something different.
Something different, yeah. That kind of became your thing as well, that falsetto, you know, when you used to...
That was a
shift. And,
I've had so many people imitate me over the years doing that kind of stuff, and it's...
Yeah, there's only you can do that, you know. I think I tried that once in the car. And look, Shin, look, we're coming towards the end. I don't know, when we spoke on the phone, you said, do you want me to bring my harmonium? I don't know if you have. I
have. It's right here.
Shall we sing a song?
Yeah, I can do you a song.
Yeah, do you want to sing a song? For anyone listening to this on the audio. Of course I want to sing. Yeah, I'm not getting involved, don't worry. And but what... It's up to you. Anything you would like, you know. What kind of vibe are you in at the moment?
Well, I mean, obviously, I only have a baja, so it's going to be very acoustic. Yeah. So whatever I do is going to be quite acoustic based. But I'll sing a song which I think kind of reflects what DCS were all about, and it kind of said, you know, what I wanted to say about myself being a Punjabi. Being brought up here in this country, was a song called Dil Phir Bhi Punjabi. Beshak rehndे hain pardes, sada dil phir bhi Punjabi. You know, even though we're born in this culture, in this country, and we live in this culture so comfortably, we are still Punjabi. You know? And I'm as Punjabi as any next man who comes from Punjab. You know, I have the same values, I feel the same things, you know. We just live in two different countries, two different worlds, but we share the same values. You know, and we you know, I share the same faith as them. You know, and you know, and the same culture. I eat the same food. Sometimes I wear the same those kind of clothes as well. You know, and I love that culture. And this song, through this song, we wanted to say that to our audience in India, because we used to always feel, you know, that people in India never took us seriously. Because you know, UK de munde are, you know, music sona bajaunde par inna nahi pata hega. But through this song, we wanted to make a point to those people in India that, you know, even though we don't live in India, we're no less Punjabi than you are. In fact, we're probably more patriotic than you are. Because if you go back to India now, well, you don't need to go back to India. Listen to the kind of music they're making in India. It's not Punjabi anymore. There's nothing Punjabi about it except the lyrics. And the melody, even the melodies aren't Punjabi anymore. Do you know what I mean? They've changed completely. It's as if they all of a sudden want to drop their culture completely. you know,
Yeah.
and become something else totally.
Yeah.
You know, they want everything that the Western world has to offer now.
Yeah.
That this is what you get in Bollywood films, and this is what you seem to get in Punjabi films as well, and Punjabi music now, which is not a bad thing. I don't mind that. Things need to change, and you need to take on technology and change within society, but do not forget where you're from either.
Yeah.
You know? Hold on to what you have as well, and fuse it
Yeah.
all the time. You know,
No, I agree.
Fusion creates something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, use it.
There appears to be some kind of identity crisis.
There is big time. There is big time. You know?
But
I mean, you see these guys singing Punjabi songs and they're driving around in. Okay, it's great, but how many Punjabi guys really drive around in Hummers and Lamborghinis? You know, got a line of 6 Lamborghinis behind you, driving down the high street. You know, come on, guys.
Hummer's not great for the bend, right? It's gonna get dirty, right? It's gonna get dirty.
You'll never get a Lamborghini down the Bend Street.
Definitely not.
Down the high street in the Bend, will you? And you know, okay. They're giving people a dream. They can see this thing, you know. But I think a time comes, you know, where you need to get real again, you know. And at times of crisis, like we've got COVID in the world, you know, and good stuff has always come out of times like this. Reality, people always tend to take a reality check, you know, and you have to get real again. You have to step back, go back into your past, and then pick stuff up again and bring it forward again. You know, just get reality check and then come forward again. You know?
Yeah.
And you will notice, if you look back in history, great music has always been produced when people have been struggling through a tough time.
Yeah.
Either personally, either politically, you know, the country's been in upheaval or something, you know, or there's been a jobs crisis, or there's been turmoil within society at the time. So when something happens, it's a very creative time for people, you know, and this is what those creative people need to step up now.
Yeah.
You know, not the people who copy music and keep copying music and keep doing what they've done before. Creative people who can make something new, you know.
Yeah.
Step up and do what you need to do.
Yeah. No, 100% agree with that. I mean, that's when creativity, a lot of books are written, a lot of songs, you know. I think back in the 80s when unemployment was super high, a lot of bands, English bands come along as well, didn't they? Because
English bands came along. Bhangra bands came along.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of time.
And there was a reason for it, you know, and these elements were all part of that mix, you know?
Yeah.
What was going on. But you know,
it's been a great journey. You know? Tell them, Shin.
So let me.
Let's hear it.
Let me try to. साडे जिस्मां च खून पंजाबियां दा साडे दिलां च प्यार पंजाब दा ए मां बोली नू असी प्यार करदे हां अखां विच सत्कार पंजाब दा ए बेशक रहिंदे आ परदेस साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी दिल फिर भी पंजाबी के साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी भावें दूर है अपना देश ओ भावें दूर है अपना देश साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी दिल फिर भी पंजाबी के साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी दिल फिर भी पंजाबी के साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी दिल फिर भी पंजाबी के साडा दिल फिर भी पंजाबी
Wow, fantastic. I mean,
thank you. That was clear.
It was clear, yeah. And I was going to sing, but I thought then the bandwidth's going to mess up. I'm going to ruin it. It's a real honor, Shin, to hear you, to sit down one-to-one, you know.
Thank you.
That was absolutely amazing. And that's what I mean. We need to hear this voice again. We need it more. We need some EPs. We need some...
Well, I mean,
We want to hear you.
Your viewers just keep watching this space. You know what I mean? I'm still singing, still doing my rehearsals. Like I said, we've got recordings ready to be coming out very soon, and some, like you say, like you suggested, a lot of the acoustic stuff I want to do and take Punjabi music into a little bit of a different direction, give it a new genre, give it a new, try and give it a new feel.
Yeah,
take it into a new space, and let's see whether people like it or not.
Yeah,
chill out zone.
Yeah, exactly that. And so for people listening and watching, where can they kind of follow you, Shin? On your website or on Facebook?
On the website, Facebook, at Shin DCS, I think it is. Facebook, YouTube, it's all Shin DCS. So just check us out. You can get all out whatever's happening, whatever's going on. You can keep up with us there.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, I'll put the tags on the show notes so people can click on and follow you. And
that'd be great.
It just leaves me to say, look, Shin, a great honor. I've had a great time. I mean,
it's been brilliant. I can't believe it's been over an hour. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, when you're just having like casual conversation and heart to heart with someone, and you're connecting, you don't realize where the time goes.
No. And
it's amazing. But I really enjoyed it. It's fantastic, brilliant.
No, thank you.
And you must say hi to all the guys if you're still in touch with them. Say hi to everyone.
Oh, I will. No, I'm in touch. I've got a WhatsApp group now, as the world is these days. Yeah, so we're in a WhatsApp group. So
great.
I'll send them a message from you.
My salam to them all.
Yeah, I will, and I'll tell our uncle as well, Bal uncle as well.
Yes, definitely.
Hi. And but look, it's been a real pleasure. Let's do it again soon. Hopefully, when COVID's gone, we can see how life is.
Yeah,
and maybe
we'd love to.
Yeah, and but good luck for all your future projects. And I'm always here to support. If you need something to push out, let me know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, great. You will be hearing from me, bro.
Yeah, not a problem.
And we'll definitely do another one soon.
Yeah, soon. And so Shin, take care, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.